Hi there, Rob Glass here, Superintendent of Bloomfield Hills Schools, and it's another edition of Ask Rob, a time where I can ask questions about things you've submitted either by email or on our website. I had some emails in the last few weeks about school rankings. Every year, several ranking agencies will rank all schools in the state or across the nation. Most recently, Niche was the agency that published school rankings. We came out as a district very high in the top 12 nationally. And people said, oh, great job, great job, great job. Now inside, I know that there's a lot under the hood with these agencies, and it can be very different and very inconsistent. So while I was glad that we were ranked in the top 12, I also know that there's a lot to those rankings and it doesn't tell the full story. So fast forward from that point to another week later when our high school, someone reported to me, was nowhere in the top 100 by the same rankings agency. I thought, well, that's strange. And as we looked deeper, we were trying to figure out, how can that be? How can you be in the top 12 as a district and not have your high school anywhere in the top 100? Didn't add up. Well, as it turns out, we still don't know exactly why, but it appears that they had our high school mislabeled as a 612 high school when in fact it's a 912 high school. And they were looking for all that standardized test data in the state warehouse for those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and they didn't find any because we don't have any 6th through 8th graders. And that gave them enough pause that they said, well, this is an anomaly, something's wrong here, and they never ranked us at all. So it wasn't that our ranking position fell, it was that the data were wrong at the state data warehouse, and Niche cast us aside and said, something isn't adding up here, we're not going to rank them. So, these things happen, I understand this. You also have the Newsweek rankings and several others, and they come out every year. I just want you to know that we certainly know that data are important measurements for our school system. We post them on our website, our standardized test scores, our ACT composite scores. We will post our SAT composite scores. The percentage of students who go on and get their first choice of colleges, the number of programs that we offer, all kinds of data points are on our data dashboard that we provide in the interest of transparency and helping community members know how we're doing with their tax dollars, educating our students. And so that's important to us. But you need to know that that's different than some of these rating agencies who use their own methodologies that vary from year to year and between different agencies, and that sometimes, for reasons that we know nothing about, the data is not reported accurately, or the data that they get, not from us, but from the state, is not always accurate. And when that happens, you have these things happening that seemingly don't add up. How can a top 12 school not have any school in the top 100? Well, that's how it happened. And so I just say that because I want you to know student achievement is important to us. Our guiding principles tell us how we're going to get there. But, with all that said, you have to take these rankings with a grain of salt. We're far too complex of an organization to be, ranked by one simple measure by an outside agency who really may not have the correct data. So just bear that in mind. It's important to realize that. Going through this was very instructive for me to understand all that goes in and sometimes doesn't go into these rankings. And having mentioned our guiding principles, I want to talk with you about one of our 10 guiding principles, which is deep student ownership of learning. When your student comes home and you ask what they're doing in school, if they're saying to you, nothing, or they give you these perfunctory answers, I guess that's somewhat normal in our experience as parents. But if it happens consistently, it's an indicator that maybe the students aren't really deeply owning their learning. When students deeply own their learning, they can't wait to tell you about what they're doing. They can tell you what they did that day and why they did it and how it was important to them and how much fun it was and what they're going to do next. And sometimes you can't pull them away from school and they can't wait to get back the next day. That's evidence of deep ownership, and you know something about that in your own life experience as well. When you're going through a perfunctory exercise that someone asks you to do, sometimes it's not that engaging. But when you're engaged in something that means something to you, you'll burn the midnight oil getting it done, and you will not want to stop. And that's the kind of learning experience we want for our students here in Bloomfield Hills. One of our guiding principles is a deep commitment to deep student ownership of learning. And I know that's a tall order when there's so much to learn and there's so many requirements and so many standards we have to cover, but we want to do more than just cover those standards of learning. We want our students to walk away with agency, knowing that They know what's important to them, and they've taken the learning and internalized it and done something with it. So often that leads us in a direction more focused on simulations, on projects, on things that connect to the real world. So if you see that going on, know that that's intentional, and know that that's the kind of district that we strive to be. I think it's a real differentiator in a world that's sometimes just chasing after test scores. It's about so much more. And as we find ways to measure that, we will report that to you as well. Really, I just want to also talk for a moment about another question I had around high school parking. Our brand new high school building is so beautiful. So many of you have toured it. Some of you have driven by the front of it. And I know our students have asked for more parking. And so in a very confined area, we've had some questions come up about whether we could take some of the grass areas on the opposite side of Andover Road from our high school and turn those into parking areas. Well, the short answer is sure, that's always possible. But the longer answer is we really need to take a thoughtful approach and see what that would cost, and if that's going to yield the kind of enough benefit to enough drivers to make it possible. You'll note that on the east side of Andover Road, we have a lot of construction traffic currently residing. We have buildings still under construction, parts of it, the auditorium and the pool. And until that's cleared up, we really don't know how much space we have to work with. So long term, yes, we can take a look at that, and if we can reasonably add at a reasonable cost some more parking, we'd certainly be happy to entertain that idea. But in terms of being able to do that now, it's just a little bit too soon. We also have some buildings over there that we have to decide what to do with on the east side of Andover Road. We also have some grassy space. So there are possibilities for the future. But we also have to make sure that we, number one, don't have too many students crossing the busy Andover Road, and that we have appropriate parking spaces that are cost effective. So we're going to keep an eye on that. We're not going to close the door on it. But I do want to say we're not going to promise that we're going to add more spaces just yet. In an ideal world, we would have parking for all the students who want it, but we just don't always, that's just not always possible given some of the constraints we have. But thank you for bringing it up, and we'll certainly do what we can in the future. And lastly, as we are in the holiday season and approaching a school break, I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you for the commitment to our school district, to the support you give our learners, whether it's at home or whether it's to our teachers providing that support. We all work so incredibly hard together to give our students every advantage and every opportunity. And that takes a real commitment and real work. And sometimes it's great, it's really important to take that time away for your family, whether it's your family at home if you're a teacher, or whether it's your family at home if you're a parent, to just stop, appreciate one another, invest in each other, be in the moment, and celebrate, just one another. And I hope you'll take that time. I know I certainly am going to do that. And I wish you safe travels if you're traveling. But I just want to thank you for that partnership and remind you that it's really about the relationships and the people. Let's take that time. Thank you for the support you give to our school district every single day, and I wish you nothing but the best.